This is part 4 of a little video series that I'm doing after discovering through a counselor, a professional, that most likely I've been living with a covert narcissist since 2018. Now, I didn't know it. I didn't recognize what it was. I had all kinds of possible explanations for this bizarre behavior and hurtful behavior. And I've made a few videos ahead of this one. You need to go back and see where I cover love bombing and what it looked like in my case. It wasn't as overt, the love bombing with this one, but it was still very much there, and how that began to erode over time. And it went from just simple dismissiveness of my needs and my concerns, and I'd be sitting and crying, and he'd just look at me like I was a leper, and no ability to soothe me or comfort me, and no impulse to do so. And then it went to deliberate tactics to hurt me, using emotional neglect as a weapon and as a tool, and passive aggressive behaviors to convince me that I was the one, failing to remember entire conversations, either because he wasn't paying attention to me at all when I was trying to communicate with him, or because he was deliberately trying to convince me that I mean, I don't know, but anyway, it devolves over time, and it gets a little worse over time, and there's the weaponization of some of this mental stuff where he can push all of my buttons, and does so, and then makes me look like an absolute raving lunatic because I'm screaming and frustrated. Nobody helps me in the house. I'm paying everything out of my salary. He won't work. And yet, how dare I suggest that any of these problems are his fault? See, that's the cardinal sin. And oh boy, that spun him off into victimhood and all of these other things, and at the abuse he suffered at my hands, and how I was mentally destroying him. To a narcissist, whether an overt or a covert narcissist, your tears and your pain and your heartbreak are just manipulation tactics to them. They can't relate to that level of hurt or anguish or whatever, and they think that you're just acting crazy and you're just throwing a fit to get them to do something they don't want to do. It's a lack of ability to recognize real emotional trauma, real injury, and real pain. And I have PTSD from my years in rescue, and I have PTSD from things that happened in my personal life before. And then he should have known. Any attentive mate and partner would intentionally and purposefully try to talk with you and figure out what your triggers are, right? And understand that these types of things from him may cause pain for you, that maybe it doesn't make sense, maybe necessarily in a healthy mind that it would cause pain, but we know it does hurt, Rhonda. So let's try to find a solution so we don't do that. Well, instead of taking that aspect, my covert narcissist that I was living with did those things more, just to get me to act out and react and do things so he could point fingers and accuse me of being the crazy one. So no, they won't acknowledge real emotional trauma, and they certainly will not accept responsibility for any role that they might have played in it. And then as time went on, just in the last year or so, one of the most hurtful things that he would do is, it seemed like there was this sneaky, dark sense of enjoying it when someone else would hurt me. If someone else yelled at me or insulted me, or like I had a lady physically attack me, grab me by the hair and held my head in place, and then kicked me or tried to kick me so that it would jerk my neck and break my neck. And he stood there and he saw that. And not only did he not try to intervene like you would think a man would try to rescue his lady from, but he turned around somehow and made it my fault because I was standing close enough. I had stepped up on the bus, the vehicle, and I had put myself close enough for her to do that to me. So I had provoked her in his mind. And then, I knew that he secretly enjoyed seeing somebody else try to kick the crap out of me because for whatever reason, maybe by that time he wanted to. This is what happens in a relationship with a covert narcissist when you start calling them on their crap, and then everything is escalating and the tension is very high because you've started to understand that something is broken in the relationship and broken in this person's mind and broken in that they don't see your pain. They don't recognize that you're hurting. And if they do recognize it, it's only used against you. And you're not comforted and you're not supported. And guess what? Over time, you get crazier and crazier because of this gaslighting that everything bad that happens to you is somehow your own fault. And they had nothing to do with it. At the very end of this relationship, we were already separated. And I had been trying to reach him about a business deal that needed to happen with the SRL that we're 50-50 partners on. I'll explain to you what happened there and how he reacted and how I reacted. And it's not to throw dirt on anybody. It's not to throw shade on anybody. It's I'm just going to tell what happened and share my experience, because if you're going through something like this, you might need to hear it.